The night Elijah Mercer found her, the rain was coming down in cold needles, and the city felt like it had forgotten itself. He was pulling his worn jacket tighter, the fabric still carrying the faint scent of motor oil and old memories, when he noticed a figure slumped against the brick wall near the closed bus terminal. At first, he thought it was another shadow, another reminder of how close survival lived to the edge for people like him. Then he saw the shallow rise of her chest and the faint tremble in her hands, and something inside him, forged years ago on distant battlefields, refused to let him walk away. Elijah was a single father, a combat veteran, a man already carrying more weight than most knights could bear, and yet this moment would become the turning point of his life. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of helping someone when no one else will, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Elijah lived in a small apartment on the south side of Cleveland, Ohio, the kind of place where the walls remembered more winters than warmth. His mornings began before dawn, making breakfast for his 8-year-old son, Noah, whose laughter was the only sound that could cut through the echoes of Elijah's past. After serving 2 tours overseas, Elijah had come home with scars that didn't show easily and a determination to be present for his child, even when the world seemed determined to push him aside. He worked odd jobs, fixed engines when he could, and taught Noah that honesty and compassion mattered more than anything money could buy. That night, as he knelt beside the woman in the rain, he didn't know her name, her story, or why she was there. All he knew was that she was slipping away, and he could not let another life fade while he still had breath in his lungs. He carried her to the small clinic 2 blocks away, his arms steady despite the shaking in his chest. The nurses moved quickly, recognizing the signs of exhaustion, dehydration, and something far more serious. Elijah waited in a plastic chair, fingers laced together, thinking about Noah asleep at home with their neighbor, Mrs. Caldwell, who watched him during Elijah's late shifts. When the doctor finally emerged, there was concern etched deep into his face. The woman, he explained, had been living on borrowed strength, her body ravaged by illness and stress. She had given a false name at first, then fallen silent, her eyes filled with something like regret. Elijah nodded, not asking questions, because he had learned long ago that everyone carried a story they weren't ready to tell. Over the next few days, Elijah returned to the clinic whenever he could, bringing soup he made himself and sitting quietly by her bed. The woman, whose real name was later revealed as Margaret Holloway, looked nothing like the powerful executive her past suggested. Without makeup, without tailored suits, she appeared fragile, almost invisible, and that seemed to be how she wanted it. Margaret had once been the CEO of a national manufacturing company, a woman who commanded boardrooms and headlines. Now she lay beneath thin blankets, her illness advanced and her spirit worn thin by years of choices that had left her alone. She had disguised herself, walked away from her empire, and tried to vanish when the weight of guilt became heavier than success. Elijah never judged her. He spoke about Noah, about the joy of small things, about rebuilding engines and broken trust, and somehow those simple truths began stitching something together inside Margaret. As her strength faded, Margaret asked Elijah to stay one evening longer than usual. The lights hummed softly, and the room smelled faintly of antiseptic and rain-soaked clothes. She reached for his hand, her grip surprisingly firm, and leaned closer, her voice barely more than breath. She whispered something that would echo in Elijah's heart long after she was gone. She told him that she had spent her life chasing power and numbers, stepping over people like him without ever seeing their faces, and that now, at the end, she understood that dignity lived in compassion, not control. She told him that he had reminded her of what mattered, and that her final wish was to make things right in a way she never had before. Elijah listened, tears burning behind his eyes, feeling the weight of forgiveness settle over the room like a quiet blessing. Margaret passed away 2 nights later, the rain returning as if the sky itself was mourning. Elijah stood outside the clinic, feeling both hollow and full, unsure of what to do with the gratitude and grief tangled inside him. Life returned to its familiar rhythm too quickly, bills piling up, engines breaking down, Noah asking questions Elijah didn't always have answers for. Then, weeks later, a letter arrived, heavy with official seals and unexpected weight. Inside was a message from Margaret's legal team, confirming what Elijah could scarcely believe. In her final days, she had rewritten her will, creating a trust in Noah's name and funding a foundation dedicated to veterans transitioning back into civilian life. Elijah was named the guardian of her legacy, not because of charity, but because she believed he understood the value of every human life. The money didn't change Elijah overnight. He still woke before dawn, still packed lunches, still fixed things with his hands. But it gave him room to breathe, to dream, to build something stable for his son and others like him. He opened a small auto shop that doubled as a training center for veterans, a place where stories were shared, skills were honed, and dignity was restored one person at a time. On the wall hung a simple plaque with Margaret's name, not as a symbol of wealth, but as a reminder of redemption. Elijah taught Noah that people were more than their worst decisions, and that sometimes angels wore disguises we didn't expect. As this story draws near its end, if it has touched your heart, reminded you of the power of compassion, or inspired you to see others differently, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps spread stories that matter. Before the final moments, we have one special request. Please comment below with the words, "Kindness lives," if you believe that even the smallest act can change a life forever. Elijah Mercer never sought recognition, and Margaret Holloway never lived to see the full impact of her final choice. Yet in a quiet corner of America, their paths crossed, and everything changed. A single father, a dying CEO, and a whispered truth proved that it is never too late to become who you were meant to be, and that sometimes, saving one life ends up saving many more.